I speak a little French. Je parle français un petit.
Nice.
Not that nice. I'm pretty bad at it.
I mean, better than I am.
People laugh at me. I'll start a conversation in French, and people will go back and forth with me a few times, and then ask me if I'm American. Tu es America? And I'll say oui, and they'll say in English, "Do you want to speak English?" And I'll say yes, please. But they'll see I'm trying. Like I got some good stories from Paris about that, and they'll.
Oh, the snail story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the snails. Oh my God, that was all in French.
You should tell.
That was me arguing with that guy in French.
You should tell the snail story. That's pretty good.
You want to hear a story?
Did you accidentally order escargot or some shit?
I did. So
Not accidentally though.
yeah. So the first thing you need to know is that I don't eat anything that lives underwater. Like anything. I don't eat seaweed. I don't eat shrimp or lobster or fish. I don't eat things that live
No
underwater.
crab?
And it's revolting to me, and it causes a pretty nasty reaction.
Huh.
And so when my husband and I were in Paris, we went to a cafe, sidewalk cafe, for lunch, and there was escargot on the menu, and I was like, I'm gonna try this. I've never done that, and I'm gonna try it. And my friend David is always talking about how delicious they are, so I'm like, I'm gonna try it. There was only one other couple at this place. They were seated a few tables away from us, and nobody else was there. And they were just sort of, hanging out, watching. And the waiter comes over, and I said, Je voudrais un café et six escargots. S'il vous plaît. And he says, okay. And then I don't remember what Doug wanted, but I had to translate. And then, I didn't know what I was getting. And Doug says, are you really going to do this? Because he's a vegan. And he says, are you really going to do this? And I said, we got to try it. I mean, you don't, but I've traveled a third of the way around the world. I want to know. And he's like, okay. So the escargots show up, and they look like garden snails in California. And
Yup.
only slightly bigger, but they look like the same snails. And I'm like, these look like snails, like garden snails, not like special snails. These look like regular snails. And I was like, that's so weird. I never thought of them as food. I always thought of them as little creatures that live by my house, And so the people
Right.
next to us, well, near us, are like watching this, and they're like, what the hell? Why? Oh my God. And so I could tell that they're like watching and judging, and they give you a special tool to get the snail out, but I've never eaten
Yeah,
a
to
snail.
dig it out of its shell.
And so I'm like trying to work this
Is
thing.
it like a little spoon or a little like?
No, it's like it's different than that. Yeah, I don't know
It's
what
like a little.
No, it's weird. I don't
Isn't
know.
it like a little mini melon baller?
Yeah, more like that. And I'm like trying to get it out, and they're laughing at me. And Doug is like, you can't get the snail out, and I'm like, it's probably designed that way by nature, and
Right.
and I finally get the snail out, and the people are laughing because it was such a ridiculous experience to watch, because it took me like 5 minutes to get the snail out. And then I put it in my mouth. I'm like, okay, here I go. And I put it in my mouth, and I'm like, oh! And I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever fucking put in my mouth. And I thought I was gonna fucking puke. It was
Wow.
like a fish-flavored booger.
Oh.
Ugh.
And remember, I don't eat fish, so it's like far worse than it sounds. And
That's disgusting.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, I was retching. It was bad. And the people next to us are laughing and laughing. And the waiter comes over, and he says, in French, how are you doing? And I'm like, fine. And he looks, and he's like, do you like the snails? And I said, they're fine, thank you. And he says,
With a plate full of snails.
yeah, there's just all the snails are still there. And he says, well, then why are you not eating them? And I said, they're fine, thank you. And he says, why are you not eating them? Are they okay? And then he says, there's something wrong with them. I'll take them back. he starts grabbing at them. And I'm like, they're fine. And he's like, no, there's something wrong. I will get you better snails. And I'm like, this is all in French. I'm trying to keep up because my French is terrible. And the people near us are laughing, and I'm like, no, they're fine. He's like, no, I'll take them, I'll get you better snails. I'm like, they're fine. And he's like, then why are you not eating them? And I'm like, I'm not hungry. And he says, you don't like them. And I said,
No shit.
I said, they're fine. And he says, you don't like the snails! Like, and I'm like, they're okay. The coffee's great.
The coffee's great.
And he's very upset. And he huffs away, very upset. The people near us finally calm down from all the laughing, and they say, in English, are you Americans? And I said, yes. And they said, why do Americans think we eat that? We don't eat that. Nobody here eats that. Why do you people think we would eat that?
It's a tourist trap.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so
That's
funny.
fucking epic.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's a valid reaction. Why are you eating that? It's
Well, they really want to know was why do Americans think they do?
it's a good question.
Weird. There were several arguments in France on that trip that I can tell you about. Yeah, it was weird. That was a weird trip.